Last week's race in Brands Hatch, in the absence of Andretti, winner of the first 2 races, saw a new race winner and championship leader in Topi Corteniemi, who convincingly led from lights out to the checkered flag. Now at the top of the standings, Corteniemi will be looking to continue where he left off as we get ready to watch round 4 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi everybody, I'm Thomas Mangosi, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. The championship crosses the Atlantic for the first North American race of the season at Ontario's Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Let's head over to our GSRC track guide to learn more about this gorgeous venue.
Welcome to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, or as most fans know it, Mosport. This circuit to the northeast of Toronto is a rarity in the world of racing today. Safety standards and the desire for more overtaking opportunities has caused most tracks to alter their layouts over the years. But Mosport is still exactly the same footprint as it was when it was built in 1961. A mere 11 turns, most of which are high-speed sweepers, are dispersed among 2.5 miles or just shy of 4 kilometers. The only alterations to the turns have been to the runoff areas, but otherwise the radii, camber, and elevation changes are all untouched. Because cars have continued to get faster through the passage of time, it's made this place a fearsome beast to tackle. Clayton Corner is particularly notorious. The blind crest and steep plunge combined with incredibly high speeds to create a punishing combination. Without many heavy braking zones, passing is often difficult. And other than using the slipstream up the Mario Andretti straight, the only other option is usually Moss Corner. This double apex hairpin is named after Sir Sterling Moss for his suggestion to redesign it after he saw its initial layout. While the plateau-like middle portion and critical exit onto the backstretch certainly give it plenty of character, the heavy compression at the bottom of the hill that causes a frighteningly short braking zone makes this one not for the faint of heart. Formula One, USAC, and IMSA have all taken their turns here, but recently NASCAR has joined the fray by holding a round for the Truck Series. Old school fans can rejoice for the enduring popularity of this bastion of untouched tarmac, but any motorsports enthusiast can't help but smile at the thrill Mosport continues to provide.
Well, DJ, we might have gone virtually across the pond from the UK to Canada, but the circuit configuration is somewhat similar, so passing is definitely, again, going to be a tricky matter here.
Yeah, you're very, very right. Today is really going to be all about track position, I think, is getting around this track and getting an overtake done is particularly difficult. Really, your only good area to probably get a surefire pass done is going down the Mario Andretti straightaway and into the S's, but even there, because of the switchback nature of that section of the track, it does get a little difficult to get going. A couple areas of danger. If you get a little bit too wide coming through Clayton's, you find yourself understeering out into the grass, and that will send you for a ride. And then the ever tricky Moss Corner, one of the most difficult corners in the entire world, I will argue. Drivers are going to have to be very, very careful coming through there, as it's very easy to put a couple of tires wrong.
You're indeed right about this track overview, especially with the double apex Moss Corner, as we should be taking a look at the driver standings after the 3rd round of the season in the Sunday Grand Prix Series, as we're already getting underway with qualifying, as you can see on the screen. In terms of the standings, Topi Corteniemi, thanks to his first championship win in his career in the Sunday Grand Prix Series, has taken over the lead of the championship from Andretti, who was absent this week, will be absent this week, and also the next for the next round. Round 5 next week. Gernot Frichte moving on to P3, Alex Millward in P4, Kartrik Pai in P5, Timothy Reed P6, P7 for Rihainen, Ovid Tregenheitz P8, Pit Meyer P9, and Javier Sanchez P10.
Moving on into the teams category, it's pretty close there up at the top with plenty of things to be moved around, but plenty of time here to still get going with these drivers. Again, Raccoon Racing looking to try to get their names back up onto the top as they run, but it does look like Ligier Zetain's looking like the team to beat thus far.
And about the race details for today's round 4 of Season 3 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. 35 laps around Canadian Tire Motorsports Park for today, totaling around over 138 kilometers of total race distance. Open setup, everybody will be able to freely trim the car to be able to give them the best confidence they can on around this fearsome track. Then, of course, in terms of penalties, drive-through penalty kicking in at 17x and a further few x more at 25 total. A driver will be disqualified, as we're already in the thick of the action in qualifying, as you can see here on the screen, with Topi Kotkaniemi currently on his way to try and set a banker lap for himself in the number 2 car.
Yes, he is, as he works his way up and over Moss. We were talking a little bit before the broadcast with Michael de Turk, our sometimes commentator here on GSRC, and he was remarking to us that there appears to be a pretty wide disparity when it comes to aerodynamic settings around here. So we're going to see some drivers trying to maximize that downforce, really and truly get some speed through Clayton and Quebec. We're going to see a couple of other drivers really trying to trim the car out, maximize speed down the Mario Andretti straightaway. And I really think here, Thomas, that's going to set up a pretty fascinating race.
You're absolutely right, as Topi crosses the start-finish line with a 105.356 and posts the fastest time on the board so far in this qualifying session of 4 tenths ahead of Rihainen and 7 tenths ahead of Pi, as we are moving on to Alex Miller going through the second part of Moss Corner. It's a corner that's a little bit tricky, I've found, when doing recce laps, where it's kind of tricky, especially at the second exit, the second apex of Moss Corner, where it's a little bit easy to get a little bit too hard on the throttle too early and get the back end squirreling out, putting you potentially with 1 or 2 wheels onto the grass, therefore messing up the aerodynamics.
Very much so, and especially in these Lotus 79s, obviously with so much torque going through the rear wheels here, it can be a very, very tricky thing to have happen. As we watched the podium finisher from last time, Alex Millward crossing over the line with a 1:05 there. That'll put him up at the top of the charts.
Indeed, a really stunning time by Alex Millward, just a few thousandths ahead of Topi Kotkaniemi with a .330 versus a .356 for the current championship leader, as Kotkaniemi closes in on another lap at a .356 for Kotkaniemi, or sorry, completely messed it up, a .339, so just 1/100th away from reclaiming pole position.
Yeah, very, very close running there. Gernot Friescha, good to see him up at the top of the charts. We talked a little bit last time that it looks like Gernot's been able to sort of get back under him. He's had a couple of rough seasons since the tire update came into these Lotus 79 series, and it really now looks like Gernot is back to his at least podium finishing ways, if not the dominance that we saw him have a couple of seasons ago.
Currently going through Moss Corner on his way into the Mario Andretti straightaway. Friescha currently 3 tenths up on the average pace compared to his previous lap, so that might well put him in contention for the front row or even pole position, as Alex Miller has just come ahead and improved that mark to a .133, fastest so far. I reckon we could see maybe a dip in the 104s if someone really dares to do so, as Friescha comes across White's corner and is now putting the power down, heading towards the start-finish line. What's the time going to be? It is going to be a .289, putting him in second position ahead of Kotkaniemi and just a tenth behind Alex Millward. Or actually, it was a 306. It was counted as a .289 on screen up first. And Pepe Fuentes with a 106.151 really see on screen, putting in P10. But stunning lap from Millward and great lap from Friescha as well.
Yeah, very good laps from the pair of them. Only about 0.2 of a second separating the two. And you can see they're coming through White's corner just how smooth Gernot was there on the steering wheel. That's how you got to really drive these cars on a track like this. The instinct is to really try to chuck them in, let all of that ground effect do its work. But the truth is you want to be as smooth as silk, because right on board with Finnegan, you can see there minimal adjustments into the wheel, not a lot going back and forth, just a little bit of overcorrection there coming out of the final corner, and he's going to be able to improve his time up to 11th.
Solid effort from Nathan Finnegan, as it seems as though everybody has concluded their runs with 2 minutes left on the clock. There are a couple of drivers that are still making their way around the track, but it seems as though the session is well and truly over, therefore cementing the pole position duly acquired by Alex Millward with a really stunning lap of a 105.133, and Gernot Fritzsche with a .306 in second place. There's your starting grid for today's race. Millward and Fritzsche on the front row, Cortinini P3 alongside Timothy Reed, Karthik Pai in P5 with Rihainen in P6, Pep Maya and Viljakainen in row 4, and on row 5, Marco Kella and Pepe Fuentes complete the top 10.
Back in 11th, it'll be Nathan Finnegan, followed by Daniel Downing with Andreas Schuster and Joshua Germany in row 7. Ryan Van Vorst will be 15th, followed by Chris Robertson 16th, with Nicholas Morelli and Robert Plumley behind him. Timo Karjalainen and Michael de Turk will round out your field, with Daniel Gallus in there as well.
Daniel Gallus alone in the 11th and final row. Gallus, de Turk, and Karjalainen not able to set a time during that set qualifying session. Here are your track conditions: partly cloudy, 20 degrees Celsius on the air, 22 on the ground, 68 and 71 Fahrenheit respectively. A little bit of western wind and a pretty big amount of humidity, but should not really give us any trouble in terms of degrading weather conditions during this race. So yeah, picture perfect conditions, I'd say, for going for some racing.
Yeah, very, very minimal wind. We're not going to see that buffeting the cars, especially over some of the high points of the track. Sometimes on the dip down into Clayton, you can see a little bit of buffeting there, but obviously that 3 miles an hour, 5 kilometers an hour, not going to be affecting any of that. The one thing I do want to draw attention to is going to be that 71% humidity. That means the air is going to be a little bit thicker out there, and that means that the front and rear wing are going to have a little bit more air pushing down on them, so the cars will be able to handle a little bit better through the fast corners, and we may see a little bit more of efficacy from the draft. But as you said earlier, Thomas, it's not going to be that much of a difference.
Not that much of a difference, but in those little games, it can be a game of margins sometimes here in racing, and just that little bit extra humidity and extra thickness in the air, having a bit denser air, to get a little bit more downforce, maybe a bit more confidence in the car, enabling a driver to really get the most out of it and put it firmly into a corner, is really going to make the difference into the driver's head, as we are currently in the process of gridding for the race. 35-lap race, remember, 138.2 kilometers, thereabouts, of total race distance. Open setup. One quick reminder, of course, the penalty: 17x for a drive-through penalty kicking in, and then at 25x total for one driver, said driver will get disqualified.
Yes, they will, as we wait for the standing start here to get going. Just waiting for a couple of drivers to take to the grid. Watch for some potential fireworks going down into turn 1. As we said, a little bit cooler out on track. It will take about a lap and a half for these bias ply tires on the Lotus 79s to warm up, so we could see a little bit of slipping and sliding through the first corner and down into Clayton.
Just a couple of people missing. Kella, Karjalainen, and Reed currently missing on the second, third, and on the second and third row. Here they are, slowly popping up. Robert Plumley also joining in the race, qualifying in P18 from what I was able to see. Yeah, P18 for Robert Plumley, and yeah, we're slowly but surely creeping up to the moment where we're going to be seeing those Lotus 79s, that's entire field, roaring down into turn number 1 here at Mosport. Watch for the number 9, Alex Millward. Pole position for him in front of Grenot Fischer in the number 1 SX Lotus, and then the number 2 of Raccoon Racing. The championship leader, Topi Kortinimi, who took over, of course, the championship lead from his teammate Andretti after the non-participation in round 3 at Brands Hatch last week.
And it looks like we've got everybody ready to go.
All right. We are getting started really, really soon around here. Here comes one of the Renault Elf machines. The revs rise. The lights turn on. And we go green in Mosport. Good start from the front row. And it seems as though in P4 we got a little bit of bumping and boring a little bit. It seems as though Alex Millward has managed to retain the lead, but in the meantime, the P2, it is going to be Topi Kortinimi managing to take over second place from Gernot Fritzsche, who dropped down a few places as everybody makes their way through Clayton and Quebec corner, and it's definitely going to be Millward in first place with Kortinimi in second and Fritzsche in P3 as they head into Moss corner, DJ. It's all looking pretty tidy.
It's looking pretty tiny indeed. Let's see if anybody has any problems coming through this tricky corner. And yeah, as you said, an absolutely blinding start from Topi Kortenemi. I wonder if potentially there that the number 2 running a little bit more downforce, able to get some more grip onto the back tires as he was able to get going, as there looks like a little bit of a rocket ship for Gernot Friesche, one of the other Raccoon Racing drivers there in the back. I believe that may have been Via Kleinen trying to make a little bit of a move down Mario Andretti, but they're going to go single file now down through the S's.
Down through the S's, through White's corner, and across the start-finish line they go. Millward, Kortenemi, Friesche, Reed currently putting pressure on Friesche as well. Pai in P5, Kella in P6 into turn 1. The move is not going to happen. Then Vikalainen, and Viakalainen and Rihainen, as we're currently on board with Timothy Reed in P4. Currently looking at the back of Gernot Friesche through Clayton, trying to catch up a little bit with the Essex Lotus driver. Then on the brakes, down towards Quebec corner. A little bit of negative camber towards the middle of the corner there. Can be very easy to get the back end a little bit loose.
Yeah, very, very easy to do and very easy to get on the throttle too early and understeer wide. Now we're going to keep on board here as you can see just how much steering lock is having to be put through the cars there. Try to get it straightened out as much as possible. Going on to Mario Andretti, and here they go now. The long blast to the S's. And once again, it looks like Gernot Friesche just able to slip the bonds there. A little bit of Timothy Reed. I think he is running a lower downforce setup.
That may well truly be the case, as he's able to keep that little bit more top speed compared to Timothy Reed, enabling himself to stay in P3 slowly but surely. And with that higher density air, maybe he can afford to run a little bit less wing angle, especially at the rear wing, to keep himself himself in third and keep Timothy Reed at bay. Although Reed is currently trying to press the issue forward, continuing to pile the pressure on Friesche, as up front it is going to be Millward and Kortenemi, with a 7/10 gap between the two and a 1.8 second gap between Kortenemi and Friesche, which is of course kind of yo-yoing in the course of the laps and in the course of the corners as they go, but still solid lead for Millward and Kortenemi up front.
Yeah, solidly up ahead in that 1.1 seconds that we saw them run it. Absolutely crucial as there. Gernot Friesche looking a little bit sideways, coming into the braking zone of Moss. We talked a little bit about the exit of that corner earlier, Thomas. The entrance is just as difficult because you've got to be applying the brakes as you're in a little bit of steering lock, and you've got to add more braking as you straighten out the wheel, trying to really V off that corner. And it's very, very easy to lock the rear tires, just get a little bit too much speed and see the car slip around on you. And that little bit of a micro mistake there, that micro slide out of Gernot Friesche, that was almost a big disaster for the number 1.
Indeed. And also there is a little bit of a compression when in your way into the corner, so it completely really forces you to rethink the corner because of that little bit of compression and a little bit of a rebound up top. As we're on board with Pepe Fuentes, currently sitting in P11 for Team Iberia, trying to catch up Nathan Finnegan, currently on the verge of the top 10.
Yep, looking in this battle, a little bit of a draft train forming, and that's going to be detrimental here on the first sector of the lap. You're going to get a lot of dirty air. You could actually see Pepe try to poke out to the outside there, just get a little bit of clean air onto the wing, as now they break down into Moss, going through that compression that you talked about. That's going to be a little bit of a hard run there for Nathan Finnegan. Got a little bit too wide coming up through the mid part of Moss.
Indeed, and Pepe Fuentes also trying to jock a little bit at the wheel, trying to keep the back end in check, trying to keep that car really on the black stuff, trying to catch up to Finnegan. 2/10 between them two at the Mario Andretti fadeaway. Not really close enough to be able to make a move, as we've got a few moves currently coming up in here with Kella and Pai having a little bit of a scrap for P5, as, from what I can gather.
Yeah, it looks like there that Marco able to get by Karthik Pai, and this, I believe, is one of Karthik's best performances that we've seen. Look at the fight here in the top 5. Let's go back and check out the GSRC replay, see this move. I think here, Thomas, this was a pretty straightforward draft down the Mario Andretti straightaway, and then a nice little battle through the S's.
Through the S's, tries to put himself around the outside, show himself in the mirror, and then just rolls the car on the way through. Beautiful stuff. Just got it done before turn 9, the second part of the S's, and got the advantage heading into White's corner. Solid overtake from Marco Kella there to move into P5 at the expense of Pai. Millward, Kortenemi, Friesche, and Reed still very much in close contention, as we see Karthik Pai being under threat from Viljakainen right at the same spot where Kella overtook him. Is it going to be a repeat? Not quite.
Able to be a little bit later on the binders there was Karthik Pai, and that tells me, and I haven't taken a look at him on the first sector of this lap necessarily, but seeing how much he's losing there down the straightaway, I've got to think that Karthik may be running a little bit heavier of a downforce setup, and that may be what's compromising him down the Mario Andretti straight.
Really right. Maybe a little bit more downforce to prevent maybe a little bit of a push, too much understeer, and trying to keep himself really on the lines. As we're currently back with Timothy Reed, still continuing to pile on the pressure on Fletcher. Not really able to find an opening though. Still keeping the gap around the 2/10 marks as they head into Moss corner through the compression here. A little bit of a lift of the back end there. Still managing to keep it nicely, but it's just oh so close to like getting the back end into a bit of a slide at the second exit there.
Yeah, a little bit of a slide, as we said, very easy to do. Squealing up the squirreling up the rear tires just a little bit as they run. But you're not just able to get that far ahead there on the Mario Andretti straight away, able to get a good run. We're going to jump back here and take a quick replay, I believe, on what happened with Pepe.
All right, Pepe Fuente. Oh, yeah, went wide into Clayton corner. Ooh, little bit of a heart-stopping moment there. The heart rate might have gone a little bit higher, but thankfully he manages to keep it together. But that is going to cost him P12 to Andreas Schütter, and maybe even some more places down the line, as he is now having to fend off the attacks of Joshua Germany in P14. But yeah, definitely a lucky escape there for Pepe.
Yeah, very lucky escape, and that was something that I hit on at the beginning, is talking about what it's like to run a little bit wide there, get that car out into the grass, and it certainly will throw you off if you are not careful about it, and very, very lucky for Pepe to be able to hold on to that car and not completely lose it.
As we're currently following along with Pepe Fuentes going into Moss corner, trying to catch up to Andreas Schütter, the number 20 on one ahead of him. And then up ahead, we also have a scrap for P10 between Nathan Finnegan and Timo Karjalainen. Only 2/10 separating these two, and they're gonna have to go. They're gonna be going at it up until the S's, I think, as Pepe is trying to catch up to that train, which was of course with Andreas Schütter, and then a move. Up ahead, Karjalainen moving through into P10. Nathan Finnegan trying potentially to catch up. No, the damage has been done. The move has been completed. Timo Karjalainen moving up to P10 just at the entry into the S's into the first part.
And that was just persistence there. Persistence in the draft playing off for Karjalainen. He's going to be very happy. And look at the gap. He's already been able to grow there a little bit over Nathan Finnegan, as that put Finnegan offline, and he really had to check himself coming down through Wright's corner.
Indeed, and that is all the invitation needed by Karjalainen to slip through into the top 10. Now taking a look maybe at the battle at the top. Again, Millward continuing to press his advantage over Cortinimi. 3.3 seconds of a lead for Millward compared to Cortinimi. And then Fritsche and Timothy Reed, the battle still rages on for third place, as we had a little bit maybe of a moment down on Moss corner. A bit of a slide, it seems like, from Karjalainen.
Oh, and we've got something here from Pep Meyer.
Indeed, Pep Meyer, the number 14, 3 wide into the S's, and he sets to lose out. Currently sitting in P9. He's got Rihainen and Viljakainen up ahead of them. The battle between the two Finns going into T1. It's going really close up ahead, nearly going nose to tail right there. Coming up onto Clayton now.
Yeah, and they're going to be
pretty nicely set up. Sorry, DJ.
Oh, you're all good. I was going to say they're going to be very, very close there, and you can see just how much they're pushing. Nobody trying to poke out to get some clean air, trying to use the maximum amount of the draft here as they go. Kimmo Viekainen really just trying to hang on here, I think. Oh, that's Kayla. That's Kayla off.
One of the Finns out of the race at Moss corner. Might have misjudged the braking into the first part of said Moss corner. He drops down to P9. Let's take a look at the GSRC replay to see what happened here.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think you just missed the braking a little bit. Kayla looking a little bit squirrely, though. They're coming through Quebec, almost tickling the outside grass. Let's ride on board with the number 3. Comes down into the braking zone, just carries a hair too much speed, and that's enough to send him out into the barrier.
Yeah, and picking up a little bit of front wing damage ahead of that as well, and seeing the whole field slip through, and he's going to continue to tumble down. He ordered P14, P15. He's forced to actually call it a day and head to pick no spare car. It's race over for Marco Kella. Unfortunately, such a good starting point as well, and unfortunately coming to a really bitter end.
Yeah, and that is just one of the perils here of Mosport. As we said, this is an old school circuit, so not a lot of that paved runoff that we are used to seeing in a lot of modern Formula One tracks. This is a place that will certainly come back to bite you. But we focus back here on the battle with Gernot Frische and Timothy Reed, and crucially here, they've been able to maintain that gap up ahead to Topi Kortenemi. It's still about a second as they run down the straightaway.
Indeed, they were able to actually maintain that gap, as you said, as we see Pepe Fuentes coming back onto the track after a little bit of a moment at Moss Corner. Let's take a look at the replay to see what happened on the exit of Quebec. Currently trying to follow up another car. Must have been Ryan van Voorst in the number 18. Down to the compression through turn 4, then onto braking for Moss Corner. Carried way too much speed, going way too hot. Touched the sand, and that is going to be him dropping down the order, and he actually dropped down to P14. He must have been following still Andreas Schutter, trying to catch up to P11. A bit of a moment there for Fuentes, still able to keep going though. That's all that matters, and being able to collect results as we're going back into the battle P3 between Fritsch and Reed, still keeping the gap within 1 to 2 tenths as they head into the braking zone for Moss Corner. Reed taking a little bit of distance on the braking. He's going to try to get him on the reacceleration, trying to put the power down a little bit earlier than Fitch did, but so far the gap's still holding around the 2/10 to quarter of a second mark.
Yeah, this gap hasn't really grown or expanded all that much, and we haven't seen too much of an attack here from Timothy Reed. Now, remember in these Lotus 79s that they get lighter over the course of this run as they do not take a pit stop over the course of a race distance. So they're going to get lighter, they're going to get looser, and they're going to get twitchier the longer we go into this race. And I wonder if Reed is just waiting to see that car come into play a little bit more. Some of these drivers really come alive in the second half of the race when these cars lighten up.
Yeah, exactly. When the car gets a little bit more lively under you, and you're maybe trying to get your fighting instinct into kick in and trying to fight the car into the corner. Maybe that's where some of the drivers are a little bit more comfortable at, rather than trying to play the smooth sailing game, trying to be extremely smooth in input. Some people like to be a little bit more antsy and racy when it comes to actually taking corners and getting the car around set corners, and so far, so good for Fritsch, able to retain that third position that he has had since the start of the race and since lap 1, essentially following the pass from Topi Kortenemi.
Yeah, he has just been able to withstand this pressure. And again, judging on the speculation that we have, running a little bit of a lower downforce setup. And so that is helping him just keep just far enough ahead down the long Mario Andretti straightaway. Oh, as we've got a little battle in the back there with Kimmo Viekainen and Yanni Ryan, and trying to send it down to the inside through the S's.
Indeed, currently Karthik Pai under great razor from Viekainen. Viekainen getting a bit of more exit speed from White's corner. He's going to go side by side into T1. Pai is going to have to yield, and it's going to be P5 for Viekainen. Can Rihanen try to make it a 2-for-1 deal? Not quite yet. He's going to have to wait up until Clayton corner to see if he can slot himself in. Tries to get a little bit more of a tidy line through here compared to Pai. So far, Pai retains P6, but great move by Viekainen and great exit from White's corner by the Finn.
Yeah, very, very well done, and you can see just how much he's streaking away here, and I've got to think that Yanni Ryan is going to want to try to make that move as quick as possible, but he's got to worry about Pep Meyer. That's 2 or 3 times we have seen Meyer absolutely chucking that corner down to the inside, almost making a pass. He looks very, very eager to try to move his way up from 8th place.
Indeed, he looks very racy, and we could potentially head up for a 4-way fight because they're not. It's a little bit of a train, but they're not separated by that much. Just at most 3/10 between one car and the other. As we see Pep Meyer trying to stick it around the outside of Rihanen into the S's. That's going to be a little bit too wide, I think. He manages to keep control of it, but not enough to actually make an impression on Rihanen. So he's going to be remaining in P8 so far, and the train continues. Pai, Rihanen, Maya, and Viekainen from P5 to P8.
Yeah, everybody just running in a single file order here. We're going to have to see if Meyer does try to make a little bit more of a move, or if he's going to fall back. Lost a couple of tenths, and he may now find himself under pressure here from Timo Karjalainen, who looks very, very racy. He's going to try it around the outside there at Quebec, sends it in deep. A preferred line goes to Pep Meyer, and I think he's going to hold it.
Meyer is going to hold it at Karjalainen. He's not really able to recoup that tiny loss with a bit more exit speed from Quebec from that daring move, and he finds himself stuck in P9 behind the number 14 of Meyer up ahead. As you can see, the perspective of Pep Meyer now, looking at the battle up front between the Finns of Reheinen and actually Karthik Pai. I was going to say the two Finns, but no, one of the Finns is already ahead of Pai. I kind of got ahead of myself there. But yeah, currently Reheinen trying to put one up on Pai. A little bit far maybe from back there to try and stick it through the S's. Can he try to pull something special before the breaking to White's corner? No, he decides to back out.
And decides to back out there, gets a good run through Whites, though he may try to do the move that we saw a little bit earlier, send one down to the inside of one. He's going to back off there, taking a later apex again. That's going to allow him to carry more speed on corner exit. This is good strategy here from Jani Ryan, and it was a bobble there from Karthik Pai.
Karthik Pai taking a little bit of a nibble on the grass at Clayton Corner, allowing Reheinen to catch up ever so slightly at the entry to Quebec, and a bit better exit maybe for Reheinen at the exit of Quebec. Coming through T4. Is Pai going to be able to defend it to Moss corner? Does he take the inside? No, it seems as though Reheinen is thinking twice about the move, and he's going to back out of it and try to bide his time to try and find a better place to pass. But in the meantime, he's also let Pai move ahead a little bit and get a little bit of room to breathe.
Yeah, Pai's got a little bit of room to breathe, and again, as we talked about a little bit earlier, Pep Meyer right behind him trying to threaten as much as possible. So this is really a train going back and forth here, as there you see a super defensive move going down into the corners for the 13 of Jani Ryan and trying to put Pep Meyer offline a little bit. Meyer's going to be able to close back in, but now Timo Karjalainen getting all kinds of interested.
Getting all kinds of interested, but he's going to have to pass on in the opportunity at White's corner, trying to get a bit more speed on the exit from said last corner. He's right on the back of Pep Meyer, but not really any opportunity to pass into T1 and not even into Clayton Corner. He's going to have to think about it and try to get a better exit from Clayton Corner. It seems as though to be the case from Karjalainen, as in the meantime, Pep Meyer currently still very much holding on with the fighting spirit, clinging on like a champ, but for how long will he be able to retain that place? As we're already halfway through the race, lap 16 out of 35 being initiated, as we're onto Moss corner. Alex Millward, as we just caught him to him, and he got slowed down dramatically, and now it's going to be a change of the lead potentially with Kortenimi as we head onto the S's. Kortenimi thinks twice and decides to back out. Or was it something that happened for Millward? I'm not really quite sure, but the gap has significantly... Oh, Millward apparently went off from what we've been told, and so we're back into potentially a really big fight for the lead, and potentially a three-way fight for the lead if Fritsche is able to keep up the pace. Let's have a little look. It's coming into Moss corner. Second entry to Moss corner. Oh, a little bit middle of a curve, and he slides out on the exit of Moss corner, and there goes Kortenimi catching up to him, and you can see the speed differential could have been yielding the lead to Kortenimi, but in the end, Millward was able to retain the lead, but all that 5-second advantage has completely vanished.
Yes, it has, and now Alex Millward is going to have a real race on his hands, trying to keep up and forward. There you can see just being able to be later on the binders, going into the S's, holding that out was Alex Millward. Topi Kortenemi, though, I think he's going to smell some blood in the water, and now as they run, there's only about 0.5 of a second separating the top two, only 1.2 seconds separating the top three, so it is still very much all to play for up here at the front of the field.
It's very much game on after a little bit of a pull-away race on the first half by Alex Millward. One single mistake was all it took to throw it all away right now, and he has to do it all over again as Kortenimi is now going to try to press the issue forward, currently maintaining the gap under half a second as we enter into lap 18.
Yep, and it's going to be all down to Alex Millward here to just try to put that mistake out of his mind and keep running a good, clean race. He was able to pull out that 4-second advantage. There's no reason to doubt that he might be able to do it again if he just keeps buckled down here, but we're going to have to see how he responds to the renewed pressure from Topi Kortenemi.
Indeed, and in the meantime, you can see a little bit of a rift between the top two and the battle for third place between Fritsche and Reed. They have caught up, they managed to keep the gap around the same, but it has slightly extended, I think, between Fritsche and Kortenimi. 1.3 seconds of a gap to the advantage of the Finn in second position, while the number one driver is still very much in a battle of his own with Timothy Reed, who's so far continuing to bide his time, continuing to find something, maybe trying to find a crack through the shielding of Timothy Reed at the moment, but right now, no mas. He cannot do it.
No, it just looks like Gernot has got his number here. Anytime that Timothy would be able to potentially make an overtake, Gernot just has it covered off. He is losing a little bit of time again to Topi Kortenemi, although he's been able to get that gap and hold it at about 1 second. Alex Millward, by the way, responding to that error earlier, setting the fastest lap of the race with a 1:06.029.
Great response by Alex Millward, putting in time that is 3 tenths of a lap, 3/10 faster than anyone in this field at the present moment. Solid response from Alex Millward at the start of lap number 19. Cortinini getting distance. Now the gap hovering around the second mark with another further second down. Fritsche and Reed. Reed trying to keep his distance and maybe trying to, as we said, trying to buy this time. But so far, it's really one of the few battles that we have up in the field is really close. Along with the fight, it seems like for 7th place and 6th place between Karthik Pai, Rihainen, Meyer, and Karjalainen, which are still very much bunched up together from 6th to 9th place.
Yeah, that battle has not dissipated at all. It continues to rage on, but it continues to run in the same position that we saw it run in a little bit earlier. We jump back there, Timo Karjalainen taking a little bit of a peek on Pep Meyer, trying to see if he can find something to get around the 14, but nothing doing thus far.
No can do so far, and yeah, it seems that the little train is going to be hanging on for a little bit longer down in the battle for even P5, as we see Kimmo Viljakainen at the head of this train a little bit further up, heading into turn number 1, as we're on board with Karjalainen in P9, doing his best to follow Pep Meyer through turn 1. Really easy, really nice wide turn through there, then onto Clayton Corner. Blind crest onto the downhill. It's really easy to get a little bit too wide and potentially ruin the aerodynamics that is procured by this ground effect car that the Lotus 79 is, as we're through Quebec and now on the way through T4 and into Moss Corner. And it seems as though there's not really any thought of any move. Oh, Meyer completely breaking point and goes straight on at the first part of Moss Corner. Karjalainen will say, thank you very much, I'll take that offer. And same for Finnegan, who moves up into P9. Let's take a replay.
Oh my goodness gracious, a lucky break there for Timo Karjalainen as he didn't run into the back of Pep Meyer. Oh, and it looks like that was all precipitated there by a little bit of a checkup in front of him. Big hit into the wall. That car surely is going to have some damage on it.
Yeah, I feel like that race is shot on the really dumb mistake, I think, from Pep Meyer, getting a little bit too confident at the braking for Moss in the compression and locking up the brakes on the way back up the hill, heading into the first apex. So now Pep Meyer down into P11 as Andreas has also gone past, as we're going back with Timothy Reed, still very much fighting on and holding on for dear life, trying to catch up to Gernot Fritsche, 3/10 up ahead as they head into Moss Corner for the 21st time in this 35-lap series. And so far, so good. A little bit of a slide on the way in from Timothy Reed, able to control it, and again a bit of a slide on the way on. That's going to be a bit of an advantage for Fritsche as he gets the power down that little bit more cleanly.
Yeah, a little bit more cleanly, just not having really a lot of tire spin there for him. And again, just taking off down the long Mario Andretti straightaway. Gernot Fritsche running that lower downforce setup. It just looks like he's able to keep that number 5 at bay. And this has got to be so frustrating here at this point for Timothy Reed. He can almost reach out and touch the number 1 ahead of him. He just can't get the move sealed.
Indeed, and I was trying to find the speeds that we were reaching at the Mario Andretti straightaway, at the very top of the Mario Andretti straightaway, and it seemed as though there is maybe a 5 to 6 or maybe even more of a difference in speed in terms of kilometers per hour for Fritsche. So yeah, that suspected lower downforce setup is looking to be pretty handy for Fritsche at the moment. He's with it, as we're currently on board with Jenny Rihainen, currently following along with Karthik Pai while trying to get a move up on Karthik Pai for P6, as you can see into Quebec Corner, getting real close to the rear end of that Elf Camel livery car. And so far, still Karthik Pai in P6, and the further up ahead, as you can see, the number 17 of Kimmo Viljakainen as they head into Moss Corner again.
Yeah, work their way down through the corner. We're going to have to see there if Viljakainen is going to be able to get anything and hold off Karthik Pai. It looks like it's going to run pretty single file here up to this point. Everybody just tucking behind in the draft as we work on lap 22. Timo Karjalainen may have a little bit something, though, on the Raccoon Racing driver. No, the number 4 is going to back off.
Number 4 of Karjalainen is indeed going to back off so far, and it's still very much a 4-car train. That he's starting to get a little bit of distancing. A bit of a wide run for Rihainen at the exit of White's Corner, so that's going to be allowing Karthik Pai to have a little bit of wiggle room to play with versus those behind him, as Rihainen is going to fall back into the clutches of Karjalainen in the battle for P7, P6, which is still very much holding together. In the meantime, Viljakainen currently pulling out of that really feisty group and trying to secure that 5th place.
Yeah, he's been able to make that gap work for him here a little bit. He's got about 8/10 of a second and change over Karthik Pai. Wants to try to get that up over a second if he can. That's going to be the maximum draft range, and that will get him to be able to run clean and not have to worry about anything in front of him.
Ryhanen having a pretty close exit from Moss Corner, and he has the right draft from Karthik Pai, the number 7 up ahead of him in P6. He goes out of the draft, tries to show himself in the mirrors of Karthik Pai before going into the X's. Not really going to do it this time. Ryhanen really much thinking, trying to get a little bit more momentum going forward, but Pai is still very much resisting really well.
Yeah, resisting very well, holding him at bay, holding everybody at bay, it has to be said. Karthik just running consistent, clean laps here as we come up with about 12 laps to go. The question is going to be if in these final 10 laps or so, these drivers start to get a little bit more aggressive. We talked about fuel burning off and these cars getting lighter, looser, and more lively. If they feel like they've got an opportunity to go, I think we're going to see them really start to boogie.
As we're heading back down to Moss Corner, you can see Ryhanen getting maybe a little bit impatient behind Pai, trying to think, oh man, how the hell am I going to be able to get through this? How the hell am I going to be able to get the leg up on Karthik Pai? As we can see, Vida kind of trying to break up the toe up ahead and moving onto the left side of the road, a little bit of snaking down the track to prevent everybody behind him to get the toe from the number 17 car. And meanwhile, up ahead, it seems as though the gap between Cortinini and Fritsch has shrunk down quite a bit. Now we're down to 7/10 of a second between P2 and P3.
Yeah, it's certainly starting to shrink a little bit here as they run, trying to see if there's a little bit more action to be able to gain out about 8/10 of a second. Gernot Frische able to take out of that last couple of runs, and that is helped by the fact that he was able to put in the fastest lap of the race last time out.
105.944, the fastest out of anyone out here. Meanwhile, the leader is running a .963, so very similar pace to the leaders. Well done by Gernot Fritsch right now, and able to reclaim a little bit of that gap bit by bit to Cortinini. Now the gap falling down to 7/10, and he's got so much more straight line speed compared to Cortinini, as apparently Nathan Finnegan has had a bit of a moment and he's spun, dropped a lot of places down to P13 from P10, it seems like. Let's take a look at the replay.
And this is a bit of a strange area, I think. Did he just run a little bit wide? Potentially, no. He's going to keep it together there. Going down into Quebec. Brings the car down through the corner. Is he just going to run wide? Yep.
Too wide.
Runs wide, touches the grass. Yep. And hard into the wall.
Maybe a bit of gearbox damage picked up with that rear end impact for Nathan Finnegan there, as we're coming back to the light. We are going back with Karjalainen, the battle for P5, who's currently trying to make a move on Ryhanen for P7 at the moment. Down through Clayton Corner, the cars are starting to bounce a little bit more. It seems like they're starting to get a bit squirrely, a little bit loosey-goosey out here.
Yeah, they're definitely starting to respond a little bit with 10 laps to go, and I think you can see that pressure starting to build here for the likes of Karthik Pai and Jani Ryhanen as they try to close in. Ryhanen gets a great run through Most. I'm not sure how effective he's going to be able to get the power down off the corner, as indeed Karthik Pai looks like he's pulling away a little bit there.
That 4-car train remains in the same positions. In the meantime, Gernot Fritsch managing to reclaim a little bit of a gap down to 1/10 at the end of the Mario Andretti straight, but a bit of a wonky exit from the final sector through the S's in White's corner allows Cortinini to open the gap back up to half a second in between P2 and P3. In the meantime, that 4-car train very much still in full action and very much in control of it. Veliakainen in P5, half a second up on Karthik Pai, and it seems that the gaps are still pretty even between the cars, hovering between 3/10 and half a second.
Yeah, it's a little bit of the draft train problem here, I think, for some of these drivers, that they're just not able to use the full maximum effect of the draft down the long back straightaway because they've got these other drivers in front of them that are also getting the benefit of the draft. It's kind of like we see those DRS trains in modern Formula One, a little bit of what is happening right here.
Yeah, it is actually a very similar thing. You're right to point that out. The similarities between the draft train and DRS train, both are relatively similar, even though the actions and mechanisms through which those trains happen are very much different. We're on lap 27 out of 35 here on this round of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and it's still very much in the lead. Alex Millward, 2.3 seconds ahead of Topi Korteniemi, Gernot Fletcher in P3, and Timothy Reed in P4. Vilja Kanen at the head of the train for P5 with Karthik Pai in hot pursuit, as well as Rihainen and Karjalainen. Pep Meyer in P9, having dropped a lot of places and managed to get back up to P9, and Pepe Fuentes moving up into P10 ahead of Joshua Germany.
Oh, a little bit of an aggressive move there from Yanni Ryan, and I think the gloves are coming off. He wants to try to take that 6th place position away from Karthik Pai.
Indeed, watch out to not get the red mist though. It's very easy to cross that very fine line between aggressive but controlled to all-out anger, and it can be very costly if any of these drivers slip up at any moment. Rihainen having a good run on Karthik Pai. Is he going to try to make the move down to Moss corner on the braking? Not quite.
And not going to get it there. I think he's going to try to maybe line up the exit of the corner a little bit. Just had, let's call it a half a squiggle there for Yanni as he came out of the corner, but this is the closest we've really seen him beat to the back of Karthik Pai on this run. He may have a little bit of a look. Pai certainly thinks, though, trying to cover off the inside.
Rihainen going towards the outside. Is he going to try to roll the car through around Karthik Pai and the S's? No, he got to back out of it. Maybe trying to get the cut back on the second half of the S's. No, Karthik Pai still retains the lead, but is he going to be able to get a clean exit from White's corner? A little bit of a wide exit. Oh, a wheel on the grass. And it contains that slide and retains control of the car, but that is going to cost him dearly here as the gap opens up back to half a second in favor of Karthik Pai. Now able to breathe a little bit here and saying, okay, I made it out alive here. We can still get P6.
Oh, he is going to be thanking his lucky stars after that. Just that little touch of the grass there on the outside of White's, almost sending that car into the pit barrier there, but he's able to come out of it. He still has only about 0.5 of a second to try to gain back up, but I think the driver who's benefited from that most right now is Pep Meyer, who, if he can get a good run here out of Moss, may be able to get a little something here.
A bit of a slide from Pep Meyer out of Moss, unfortunately, and he's quite a ways down from Karjalainen, 4.7 seconds down on the train for P5. Karjalainen currently at the tail end of that little train with Rihainen up ahead, and Rihainen now having to regroup, having to make some pretty significant changes to his driving style, trying to catch up to Karthik Pai, trying to think maybe a little bit more methodical, maybe a bit tidier lines through Karthik Pai. He knows that he's also struggling maybe with the weights getting a little bit lighter, the tires maybe wearing a little bit more, the car feeling a little bit more lively under him, a little bit more loose, and he's going to have to work around the clock to make that happen. In the meantime, fastest up of the race going to Gernot Fritzsche with a 1:05.812, faster than the top two up ahead.
Oh, but he's just had it off. He has just had it off coming through Moss. Gernot Fritzsche throwing it all the way there with only about 6 laps to go.
It was going all so well for the number 1 driver. Let's take a look. It was coming out of Moss corner. Yeah, he was way too wide. Right into the first part of Moss corner. Luckily, managed to keep it out of the wall, driving safely through the grass. But that's P3 being given away on the silver plate to Timothy Reed, who's just going to be able to control that pace and control that race all along. And Gernot's not really going to be able to catch back unless there's some more shenanigans happening up ahead. With 5 laps to go, it's going to be a really tough ask.
Yeah, he's got about 3.5 seconds to try to make back up to Timothy Reed here, and with the pace that we've seen Reed have, I've got to think that he is going to be able to hold on to that gap no problem at all. Such an unfortunate incident there for Gernot Fritzsche. As you said, he went into the corner a little bit too wide, and you can see this car starting to break away from him even before he got to the middle part of Moss.
Yeah, really unfortunate misjudgment, I would guess, from Gernot Fritzsche, costing him a certain podium place that he was controlling really nicely. He had it in the bag. Now getting a little bit more aggressive into Moss corner, managing to make the corner through this time. But yeah, really unfortunate mistake and such a shame for Gernot.
Yeah, such a big shame there for Gernot. He is going to be absolutely kicking himself as his woes continue. It's been such a long time since we've seen him on anything, but here we jump back to Karthik Pai.
Karthik Pai having a pretty good run out of Moss, trying to catch up to Vilja Kainen. He's currently in the toe of the number 17 car. The gap is continuing to decrease 0.2 of a second. He's going to move on the outside. Is he going to try to do something bold in the S's? No, he's going to be able to keep the car into it, though. He has a little bit of a slide compared to Villiacana. He's able to keep it a little bit tidy on that transition to the second part of the SS. Again, Karthik sliding a little bit at the exit of White's corner. Villiacana using all of the curb and managing to retain that 5th place. In the meantime, yeah, Rihainen and Karjalainen being left in the dust behind thanks to the attack of Karthik Pai. Karthik very much trying to fight on for a few more points, although he got a little bit wide into Clayton corner there.
Yeah, just carried a little bit too much speed, and that may open him up with a little bit of attack here from Jani Ryan, and here they go, getting around right now, trying to see if there is anything to be done. It doesn't look like we're going to see anything into Moss.
Moss is definitely not the prime passing place for this race, and we were talking about it in the race preview. It's more likely to happen towards the S's that the passes are likely to be made, but yeah, at the bottom end of that strain, Karjalainen again left behind, having a really appalling exit from Moss, letting Rihainen slip away in P7, and Karthik Pai still able to retain himself within the clutches of Villiacana. Second time, still nothing got done. Maybe third time's the charm if he's able to get that little bit more exit speed. As, yeah, Villiacana is still able to retain P5 brilliantly here.
And here's Pepe Fuente trying to get a little bit of a move. Remember, Fuente's having some problems earlier in the race, trying to see if he can get that move down to the S's, and it doesn't necessarily look like Joshua Germany going to be able to rebuff him.
That was a bit of a close call for Pepe Fuentes, wasn't it? I thought he was going to actually cut the nose off of Andreas Schützhaus just behind him in the number 21. But everything got done really smoothly for Pepe Fuentes. Now maybe looking at a shot at the top 10, just half a second ahead. Although we're already heading towards the final 2 laps of this race. And a firmly controlled race by Alex Milward. Again, we continue to say it, but he has been supreme since lap 1.
Yeah, he really and truly has, constantly just putting it in there. He had that one little bobble halfway through the race, but able to recover from that and keep the car pointed the same way just goes to show you how good it is to be trying to go and trying to just keep your head in it.
Indeed, as continuing with Pepe Fuentes going down the Mario Andretti straightaway, trying to catch up to Joshua Shermany up into P10. Then the next target for him would be Pep Meyer up in P9. And then back to the train of 5th place. Villiacana, Pai, and Rihainen are very much close together. Still very much hovering around the 2/10 of a second gap between each car. But Karthik Pai having another run. The third time is still not the charm for Pai versus Villiacana. And he gets a little bit wide of the Clayton corner, allowing Rihainen to get within his clutches at the entry to Quebec. He goes to the inside.
Oh!
They touch. Both go down to the grass. The race is over for both of them. Hard into the wall. And Rihainen flips over. Villiacana can actually exhale. Thankfully for him, the battle is over, but for both Karthik Pai and Rihainen, it's race over with a really, really desperate move, I think, from Rihainen. I think as we're going to be moving back into the replay from Rihainen's perspective, going down the Clayton corner, you can see actually Pai getting a little bit wide, bit more exit speed from actually Rihainen, and he messes up the braking point. Yeah, left front to right rear, and they both head into the wall really hard, and even a flip for Rihainen, and that is game over for both of them.
Yeah, and I've got to agree with you there. That is, I think, on Jani Ryan, and that is his doing there. Just an overly aggressive move for him. And now it's going to be all to play for here for Karthik Pai on this final lap. That heavily damaged car, Joshua Germany already able to get back up on by him.
Yeah, indeed, Joshua Germany getting by for P8, and Pepe Fuentes moving up into P9 at the entry into turn 1 as the leader is making his way around the track for the 35th and final time down on the Mario Andretti straightaway, making his way throughout the S's for the final time in a few seconds here. He has been absolutely supreme and commanding the race. Despite the mistake at Moss midway through the race, he managed to keep it all together. He started with pole position, and he's going to go for lights the flag for Alex Milward, who takes the win in round 4 of the Sunday Grand Prix Series in front of Topi Cortinimi, Timothy Reed in P3 at the end of his long battle versus Galen Fletcher, who managed to come back in P4 1 second behind. And then, oh, what happened to Karjalainen and Villiacana? They're both side by side. Karjalainen moving up into P5 in last second. He forces Villiacana winding into the wall of tires. Pep Meyer is going to be able to inherit 6th place. P5 for Karjalainen, P6 for Meyer. Villiacana is going to be able to reach P7. Watch out for Pepe Fuentes and Joshua Germany. Germany's going to be able to keep in P8. P7 for Villiacana, and what could have been a so promising P5 ended with its pitiful last effort to retain that place from Karjalainen. Let's take a look at what happened here. on the replay. Oh, and their teammates apparently, from what we've been told. So yeah, rule number 1: never hit your teammate. And let's take a look at what happened. So that's Karjalainen going around the outside of the S's, getting the car to roll through. He's got the inside for the corner, a little bit of a slide, and I don't know about you, DJ, but that's gonna be a racing incident. I think 50-50.
Yeah, I think it was a racing incident. I've got to agree with you there on that one, Thomas. I also think there was a little bit of net code to come into play for it. Let's watch on board here. You can see it as they come in. Karjalainen, and they are to the outside, going down into the first part of the S's. Yeah, just the merest of contact there. Definitely a racing incident.
Definitely racing incident. There's not that much room for 2 cars around here, and unfortunately, that lesson has been learned the hard way by Väliäinen, who paid the ultimate price, not only P5, but also P6 to Pek Meyer, moving down to P7. Joshua Germany, Pepe Fuentes, and Andreas Schuster completing the top 10 at the flag, but brilliant victory by Alex Mill. We're controlling the race from the beginning to the end. Absolutely stunning display. Well, that was certainly a race that delivered so much in terms of action and really epic displays of driving here in the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Here are the race results. Alex Miller taking a lights to flag victory, very convincing despite that little mistake at Moss. Topi Kortiniemi, the championship leader, finishes in second. Timothy Reed completes the podium ahead of Gernot Fritsche. Timo Karjalainen in P5 with Pep Meyer P6. Väliäinen, Joshua Germany, Pepe Fuentes, and Andreas Schuster complete the top 10.
In 11th, it was Karthik Pai, followed home by Nathan Finnegan with Ryan Van Voorst behind him, and Chris Roberts, the last driver to finish on the lead lap. Yanni Ryanen was 1 lap down, and then we got into some DNFs with Turk, Morelli, Plumley, Downing, and Gallus, as well as Marco Kayla.
Indeed, with Marco Kayla and that unfortunate incident early on in the race at Moss Corner. Well, I think we've got our top 3 lined up for interview today, and up first is none other than your race winner, Alex Millward.
Alex, it looked like a pretty easy race out there for you. Obviously, a little bit of a bobble halfway through, but how was it from behind the cockpit?
Oh yeah, it was. I wouldn't say it was a cruise. I was pushing every lap, but I don't know where that came from. Yeah, a bit of a mistake, and Topi was right on me, and I thought, here we go. But thankfully, I managed to create a gap again. So I don't really know where the pace came from this week.
Well, I mean, holding on to it and watching it go, I mean, how much pressure were you feeling, especially in those early laps? Were you having to drive a lot in your rearview mirror, or was it all just about keeping the car ahead?
Just trying not to get into a bad habit, trying not to check the relative, trying not to focus on anyone behind, and just put your head down and drive forward. But it's really hard to do, and you've got all these guys behind you, so just have to try and concentrate. And yeah, I mean, physically sweating after half a lap. Obviously, it's really hot today, but yeah, that was hard work.
Well, as we look ahead to next week and we head to Summit Point, obviously going to be a little bit of a different track in the way that it runs, but still a little bit old school, a little bit of a club circuit. How do you like the chances there?
I don't know. No idea. Like I said, don't know where this pace came from. So we'll see what the other guys have in their arsenal next week. So yeah, we'll see. Should be fun though.
Well, best of luck to you when you get there. And is there anybody you'd like to thank for today?
Just all CTC, all of the Day Talk guys, all friends and family, and yeah, it's nice to have Andy T taking a vacation for real life stuff. So the longer he's away, the more chance the rest of us have. So that's good. Cheers, Andy.
Well, thank you so much, Alex. That was your victor here today, Alex Millward. And now we've been able to catch up with P2, Mr. Topi Kortenemi, who was closing in on Alex Millward for the majority of that race. And how close do you think you were to catching up to Alex?
I don't know. I think I was catching him like a 10th lap or so, but then passing him would be another thing with more wings. So I think he deserved to win today, definitely.
Well, we were talking a little bit before the broadcast about setup and how that there were multiple ways to go in this race. What did you end up choosing without giving away too many trade secrets?
Yeah. I tried to go much lower wings than I did today, but I was just so much slower with that, so I ended up going with the lowest wing that I was fastest with and then just drive to the sunset from the pole, but apparently it didn't play that way. So but it was a good race, and Jono was giving me some good pressure.
Yeah, indeed. And as we head into next week, going to Summit Point, a little bit of a club circuit and kind of similar here to Mosport, that it's going to be hard to pass. Is that one of your favorites, or how do you think that's going to go?
I don't know. Definitely not my favorite track, but it might make some good racing. I don't know.
Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. But Topi, is there anybody you'd like to thank for today?
Yeah, Jono and Alex, it was a good race. I think we both gave pressure to each other, and we had fun. And you guys and everybody watching, and the Raccoon Boys, of course.
Well, thank you so much, Topi. That was Topi Kortenemi, your second place finisher on the day. And now we've also caught up with our third place finisher, Mr. Timothy Reed. And Timothy, talk to me about your emotion there during that race. It looked like you and Gernot were just in the battle of all ages, but you just couldn't catch him until he made that mistake. Timothy, you got a copy?
I'm sorry about that. I can never remember if the button's in, if it's mute or not, so sorry. Yeah, Gernot had obviously a low downforce setup, so I had really no option other than just to stay behind him and try to pressure him into making a mistake, which is not likely to happen, but fortunately for me, he made one mistake and near the end of the race, so I just kind of had to manage the gap and finish. So it was really fun. It's even if I didn't get the podium, or even if I crashed out, I had a great race, and it was enjoyable just racing with Gernot like that.
Well, I mean, I've got to be thinking that racing with somebody like Gernot, that experience, that many wins to his name, has got to make you feel good. Is that going to carry some momentum for you into next week, do you think, at Summit Point?
I hope so. I'm not good at that track, so it may actually just be a skip week for me. But yeah, it's a great experience to be able to drive behind Gernot like that, or anyone else that's skilled. Now I just need to catch up to the pace with Alex. He had incredible pace today, and he's doing really well. So hopefully I can gain some more time.
Well, we wish you all the luck in the world, my friend. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for today, though?
Well, yeah, thank you guys for putting on a great broadcast. Every episode is very enjoyable, and the community for promoting the series, providing the sets, and all the new people that have been showing up and participating and enjoying the car.
All right, well, Timothy, thank you, and congratulations on the third place here. That was Timothy Reed, your third place finisher. Thomas?
Well, thank you very much, DJ, for those interviews, and that is going to conclude round 4 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, a race which certainly had a lot of action, and to be fair, DJ, I think it really delivered. In terms of action-packed racing, and I think we couldn't be happier for that.
I have to agree with you. One of my favorite tracks to see a race on. Always close, always exciting. Mosport never fails to deliver.
Exactly. So that is going to be concluding this broadcast. Thank you very much to the team today, DJ, Rob, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store listed on the screen. And make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget about it so you don't miss any moment here on GSRC. The Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series returns next week with round 5 of the season, taking place at Summit Point Motorsports Park in Summit Point, West Virginia, July 17th at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Make sure to note that down on your calendar. And also for your calendar, make sure to check out the other broadcasts listed here on the screen. Up next at GSRC is the Sunday Drivers' Cup MX-5s at Oulton Park at 4:45 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.